Hi everybody and welcome back for another exciting week of Spanish. This week we are going to be diving into Chapter 3, which discusses the preterite, the imperfect, and then of course preterite versus imperfect. This chapter is usually one that students feel pretty confident about because you spend a lot of time in your earlier Spanish courses really studying the preterite and the imperfect. So that being said, I know that sometimes students have trouble remembering the irregulars or remembering the grammar rules, so this video is here just to help you with making sure that you have all that stuff down. So we're going to begin by talking about the regular preterite conjugations. For a preterite AR verb, like hablar, for example, you're going to chop off your AR and back in the yo form, e with an accent pronounced as e. The to form, aste. The he or she, o. Don't forget your accent on the o. Amos, astes, and aron. So you end up with hablé, hablaste, habló, hablamos, hablastes, and hablaron. Okay? If we were referring to an ER verb or an IR verb, they are the same in the preterite, unlike the present tense where you have two sets of endings. You just have one for the ER and IR verbs. You're going to remove that ER or IR and add back in the yo form I with an accent pronounced as E. The to form, iste. The he or she, io. The we form, imos. The vosotros, istes. And the ellos, ellas, ustedes, ieron. So for a verb like comer, for example, you would have comí, comiste, comió, comimos, comistes, and comieron. Okay, I have a few problems for you here with these basic conjugations. I would like for you to pause your audio and give these a try, please. Okay, now that you've had a second to try these, let's talk through how you might arrive at the correct answer. So number one tells me that primero, first, Brianna abrir su libro y luego sacó su lápiz. So first she opened her book and then she got out her pencil. So if abrir is my verb for to open here in parentheses, we're going to chop off our IR. Brianna would be she. So we're going to use this él, ella, usted box and end up with abrió. Number 4, though, says that Brianna número uno y Brianna número dos llevar suéteres la semana pasada. So we're trying to say that they wore sweaters last week. So we're going to take an AR verb this time, llevar, drop my AR, and add back an aron for the they box to say that they wore, llevaron. Okay, hopefully that's not too bad. For our imperfect tense, we have a new set of endings, of course, and for an AR verb, like hablar, we're going to chop off our AR and add back aba, abas, aba, abamos, abais, or aban. So again, hablar, hablaba, hablabas, hablaba, hablábamos, hablabais, and hablaban. For an ER or IR verb, you're going to chop off that ER or IR, adding back ia, ias, ia, iamos, iais, and ian. So for a verb like comer, comía, comías, comía, comíamos, comíais, and comían. Go ahead and pause your audio one more time and give these regular imperfect verbs a try. Okay, now that you've had a second to practice, you can see here your answers in red. With number 1, it says that en mi familia, nosotros siempre comer panqueques los domingos. So my family, we always used to eat pancakes on Sundays. If we take the verb comer here, an ER verb, chop off our ER, we're going to use our nosotros ending of, íamos, so you should end up with comíamos. We used to eat pancakes. Number 2, my mom nunca, never, me cantar canciones. She never used to sing songs to me. So if cantar is to sing, we're going to chop off our AR. For the she form, we're going to add back aba, and you should end up with cantaba. Okay, hopefully these are not too bad for you. Now, where students oftentimes get confused is in regard to the irregulars. So fortunately, in the imperfect, there are only 3 irregulars in the whole language. That would be ser, ir, and ver. Ser becomes era, ir becomes iba, and ver becomes veía. I always tell students just to remember the yo form. If you can remember the yo, you can kind of get to all the others. Era, eras, era, éramos, erais, era. So again, if you can remember era, you can get to the others. Same thing here. Iba, ibas, iba, íbamos, ibais, iban. Pretty easy there. Okay, so those are your imperfect irregulars. The preterite has way more irregulars than the imperfect, as I'm sure you know. We're going to start with irregular yo verbs in the preterite, what I call car, gar, zar verbs. Okay, and as you're looking at these, you would think that you could just follow your regular verb conjugation process. You would take a verb like tocar, which refers to playing an instrument, chop off your AR, you're left with tok. You have these regular preterite endings of aste, o, amos, aste, senaron. So you throw those on there and you get something like this. Well, fortunately, these are all correct except for the yo form, because verbs that end in car in Spanish and the yo form and the preterite will change to que. So one more time, car verbs change to que, car to que in the yo form. Okay, let's say we have a verb like jugar, which is also to play, but this time to play a sport. To conjugate jugar, we're of course going to chop off the AR. We're left with the jug part. I throw on my preterite endings of aste, o, amos, aste, senaron, and I get something like this. As I'm sure you can guess, all of these are correct except for the yo form. Instead of jugué, we get jugué, jugué. So again, car verbs change to, good, hopefully you're saying que. Gar verbs change to gay. Okay, and then finally we have verbs like almorzar, to eat lunch, to lunch. Zar verbs, you're going to chop off your AR, throw on your regular preterite endings again, and you get something like this. As I'm sure you can guess, they're all correct except for the yo form. You get almorcé. Okay, so your little cheat here is that verbs that end in car change to que, verbs that end in gar change to gay, and verbs that end in sar change to se. This is only the yo form that is affected. Okay, so I want you to take a moment, give these verbs a try for me, pause your audio. Okay, now that you've had a second to try these, hopefully you can see, you may recall these only change in the yo form. So you remember that jugar is in the yo form, gar changes to gay, and tocar. In the yo form, car changes to que. So you get toque, and let's see if I can highlight this. Oh, no, that didn't work. Okay, I'll do it a different color. You get toque, and you get jugue. The others are totally normal. You just chop off your AR and jugar, and back aste. For he plays, chop off your AR and tocar, and add an O, tocó. Okay, so on and so forth. All right, as we keep looking at irregulars, you may remember back to your earlier Spanish classes where we talked about stem changing verbs. Like in the present tense, you had poder, which means to be able to, and poder was an O to UE stem changing verb. So to say that I'm able to, we said puedo. You're able to, puedes. Él, ella, usted puede. But when we back up to the we form, we didn't get podemos, we got podemos. And vosotros podes. But then down here we got pueden. So I nickname these in my course as boot verbs because these verbs only stem change from O to UE whenever they're inside the boot, which does not include the nosotros or the vosotros forms. Okay, this is important because verbs that end in IR, now be careful, this is only IR verbs. Verbs that end in IR that have a stem change in the present tense, they do still have stem changers in the preterite. Okay, so if a verb is an ER verb or an AR verb and it has a stem change in the present, does nothing in the preterite. Okay, not for ER and AR, but an IR verb that has a stem change in the present tense is still going to change in the preterite, but it's only going to change in what I refer to as the sandal. And I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So for example, let's take a verb like dormir, which you know means to sleep. Dormir changes from O to UE when it's in the present tense. It is an IR verb. In the present, it changes from O to UE. In the preterite tense, therefore, instead of changing from O to UE, it's only going to change from O to U. And instead of changing in the boot, as you can see up here in the present, it's only going to change in the sandal, in the third person singular and plural forms, what I've nicknamed the sandal. Okay, so you conjugate dormir as you would any other preterite verb, chopping off your IR. You get dormi, dormiste, dormimos, dormistes. Totally normal, no big deal. But down here, instead of dormio with an O, you get dormio, and dormieron with a U instead of an O. Okay, so again, IR verbs that have a stem change in the present tense are still going to stem change in the preterite, but they're only going to change in the sandal. Verbs that change from O to UE, change only from O to U in the sandal. Verbs that change from E to IE in the present tense will only change from E to I in the sandal. And verbs that change from E to I in the present will still change only from E to I in the preterite, but again only in the sandal. You can see an example here of the verb mentir, which means to lie. And you can see how in the present tense we've changed our E to an IE in the boot. Therefore in the preterite it's only going to change from an E to an I, and it's only happening in the sandal. So menti, mentiste, mintió, mentimos, mentistes, mintieron. Okay, and then here's another example of an E to I verb in the present. Again, only changing from E to I in the preterite, but only in the boot. So serví, serviste, but sirvió and sirvieron down here. Okay, hopefully that's not too bad for you. Now, you also have lots of verbs that are irregular in the preterite. You can see a list of these here, and I have them organized in this order for a reason. Okay, we're going to break these up into different categories. So ir and ser, to go or to be, dar, to give, and ver, to see. We refer to these verbs as verbos cortos, or short verbs. They all have that in common. Their conjugations in the preterite are very short. Okay, you end up with something like fui, di, and vi in the yo forms. So fui, di, and vi. I'm going to encourage you only to remember the yo forms for right now. Fui, di, and vi. These are our short verbs. Okay. Next, you have the verbs hacer, querer, and venir. Hacer, to do or to make. Querer, to want. And venir, to come. These are part of what we call the I group preterite. And their stems change, and they use a certain set of endings, which I've included for you here. That's iste, o, imos, istes, and hieron. Our stems here become is, quis, and vin. Okay? When you throw this set of endings on, you get ise, quise, and vine in the yo forms. Again, I'm encouraging you only to remember the yo right now. Ise, quise, and vine. Okay? These endings work for all of these verbs except hacer in the el, ella, usted form. Instead of ico with a C, the C changes to a Z, and you end up with hizo. Okay, so we've covered our first line. Fui, di, and vi are verbos cortos. Next we have our I group, hacer, querer, and venir. Ise, quise, vine. We've covered those. Next I want to talk to you about the U group and the UV group. The verbs saber, poner, and poner, to know information, to be able to, and to put it to place, as well as tener, andar, and estar, to have, to walk, and to be. These verbs also share the same set of endings from the I group, iste, o, imos, istes, hieron, and they have changes in the stem. In this line, we have a change to just a U, whereas in the bottom line, we have a change to UV. So, for example, saber becomes soup, poder becomes pud, and poner becomes pus. Okay? You also have this common set of endings here. So, supe, pude, puse. Supe, pude, puse. Just try to remember the yo form. If you can get to the yo and you can remember your endings, you can unlock all these other forms of the verb. Okay, same thing with that UV group. Tener becomes tuv, andar becomes anduv, and estar becomes estuv. Again, same set of endings. So tuve, anduve, estuve. Okay, so if you've noticed so far, our verbos cortos line is one you have to just memorize. Fui, di, vi. Whereas the I group, the U group, and the UV group all use a common set of endings. Iste, o, imos, istes, hieron. This fourth line of our song, called the J group, will also use this same set of endings as all the others, except for the they form. We still have still have iste, still have o, still imos and istes, but for the they form, this bottom right box, instead of hieron as our ending, we have just eron. Okay? Now, decir, we call this the J group because it has a stem change to a J. So decir becomes dich, trajer becomes traj, and conducir becomes conduj. So you get dije, traje, conduje. Okay, again, notice same set of endings as all of our other lines from the song, except instead of dijeron and trajeron, we get dijeron, trajeron, condujeron. Okay. Now, I know that probably seems really overwhelming, okay? So this is sort of organized in song form for you to help you. So if you sing this all together, you get fui, di, vi. Ise, quise, vine, yo. Supe, pude, puse, yo. Dije, traje, conduje, yo. Tuve, anduve, estuve, yo. Now, if you had the pleasure of being in my Spanish 2 in-person course, you would have sang a song, this song specifically. I do have a YouTube video of another class singing this song, though, that I'd like to share with you.
And action! Attention! Live, 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 live. Wait, deep, big. Wait, deep, big. He say, video. He say, video. Puse, supe, yo. Puse, supe, yo. Dije, traje, que tuve, yo. Dije, traje, que tuve, yo. Tuve, yo. Tuve, yo. Justo. Preterite. Irregular. Ahora yo te lo pruebo.
Okay, so you were able to see that video very quickly, where these are all organized. So fui, di, vi. Ise, quise, vine, yo. Supe, pude, puse, yo. Dije, traje, conduje, yo. Tuve, anduve, estuve, yo. If you can remember the yo forms, it should help you with all of the others. I do have one more silly little video for you, referring to the Spanish preterite. And we're not going to watch the whole thing because it's kind of long, but this is on D2L if you want to take a look at the whole thing. This is to the tune of Blurred Lines, if you're familiar with the song. Here we go.
If you want to learn how to conjugate the irregulars of the preterite, 12 words, remember them. Remember they have stems. You have to practice them. Preterite irregulars. Okay, you need to know the endings and the stem, but they're irregular accents. You don't need them. Eliminate the accents. You don't need no accents. Please don't put no accents. And that's why I'm gon' practice irregulars. Anduvis toof toof, Vinis keys poos poot, Supi tracondu, you're irregular. Anduvis toof toof, Vinis keys poos poot, Supi tracondu, you're irregular. Anduvis toof toof, Vinis keys poos poot, Supi tracondu, you're irregular. Anduvis toof toof, Vinis keys poos poot, Supi tracondu. Under is undo, estar is estu, tenor change to two, venir vin hacer is querer quis, poner poder pus pud, decir traer ditra, conducir condu, oh I acentos. Okay, you need to know the endings and the stem, but they're irregular accents, you don't need them. Eliminate the accents, you don't need no accents. Please don't put no accents, and that's why I'm gon' practice irregulars. Anduvis toof toof, Vinis keys poos poot, Supti tracondu, you're irregular.
Okay, and it does go on for about 5 minutes, so I'm going to stop there, but that is available on D2L if you choose to watch the rest of it. But I think you get the point here with our irregulars. So I want to give you just a moment to take a look at these. You don't have to do all of them. I just want to see you do 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, hopefully now that you've had a second to try these, you can see with number 1 saying tu and ir, you go. This was the first word in our song. Ir became fui. Of course, in the tu form, instead of fui, we're going to end up with fuiste. Okay, number 2, ellos and hacer. Hacer, of course, our stem became is. And then in the they form, we should end up with hicieron. And nosotros and ser. Ser again became fui. To say that we were, we would say fuimos. Okay, hopefully you're doing okay with these. So now that you know the preterite and you know the imperfect, we're going to talk about how to differentiate between these within common everyday expressions in Spanish. And I have a few tricks for you. I love acronyms. I feel like acronyms really help students to remember when to use certain verbs. So if you took Spanish 1 with me, you likely learned about ser and estar and the acronyms topic and place to help you remember those. Here for the preterite and the imperfect, for the preterite, we use the acronym BOIST, B-O-I-S-T, just like moist, that word that people hate hearing, except with a B instead of an M, so BOIST. We use the preterite. The be in BOIST refers to the beginning or the ending of an action. So the verb comenzar and empezar, both of these mean to begin or to start. Terminar is to end. The game can only start one time. The game can only end one time, right? So beginning and ending, we usually use for the preterite. As you know, the preterite typically refers to actions that are completed in the past. Completed actions, we often translate these as ed in Spanish. So, for example, I walked to the store. Um, we ran out to go grab something really fast. We ate at La Corona. Okay, whatever you may be referring to here usually only has a specific ending and a specific beginning. It's a completed action in the past. So, comenzar, empezar, terminar. The O in voice refers to one-time events, and you have some preterite trigger words here like ayer, yesterday, anoche, last night, anteayer, the day before yesterday, la semana pasada, last week, el mes pasado, last month, and el año pasado, last year. So, voice, beginning or ending of actions, one-time events. The I is my favorite part, the interruptions, the I in voice for interruptions. Now, if you are a horror movie fan, you know that there's always a dumb blonde in horror movies, right? So I love using the horror movie example when teaching the preterite and the imperfect because generally one of your verbs is going to be in the preterite and the other is going to be in the imperfect. If you look at a sentence like this, when the dumb blonde was walking down the stairs, she fell and hit her head. Okay, she was walking is translated as ing. That's an ongoing action, and therefore that's going to be in the imperfect. She was walking down the stairs. When she hit her head, well, how many times did she hit her head? Only once. So that's a completed action. That's going to be the preterite. You can think about this as an interruption. She was walking down the stairs when she hit her head. Hitting her head interrupted her walking. So therefore, the verb that does the interrupting is going to be in the preterite. Okay? For example, we were watching a movie when someone knocked on the door. Well, someone's knocking on the door interrupted our movie watching. So we were watching a movie, imperfect, when someone knocked on the door, preterite. Okay? So voice, the beginning or ending of an action, one-time events, interruptions. The S stands for a series of events, and this is very common in reading literature in Spanish. You may see that I woke up, I took a shower, I made coffee, and I went to the store. Okay, boom, boom, boom. A series of events all happening one right after the next. And then finally, the T in voice stands for transition words like primero, first, segundo, second, tercero, third, luego and entonces, then, por fin, finally, so on and so forth. So I want you to take a look at these sentences here. And I wish I could hide my answers. I wasn't able to do that. I'm sorry. But I want you to see sort of the reasoning behind this. So I have an idea. Hang on. Okay, here we go. So ayer yo hice la tarea. Yesterday I did my homework. We know this is preterite, but why from voiced? Well, it's a one-time action. Yesterday is a key word, a preterite trigger. Number two, tú fuiste al mercado. You went to the market. Compraste comida, you bought food. Regresaste a casa, you returned home. Y cocinaste la cena. What's our reasoning here for using the preterite? Well, it's a series of events, one right after the next. Number three, nosotros terminamos de jugar. We finished playing. Well, again, you can only begin or end something once. We finished. That's a beginning or ending of an action. Number four kind of has two answers. Primero, él fue a la escuela. He went to school. Luego aprendió matemáticas y por fin regresó a casa a hacer la tarea. So first he went to school, then he learned math, and finally he returned home to do his homework. You could say this is a series of events, or you could classify it under transition words, primero, luego, and por fin. Either way, it triggers the preterite. And last one, ellos leían cuando el teléfono sonó. So they were reading when the phone rang. The phone's ringing interrupted their reading. Okay? So, as we look at reasoning behind the imperfect, we use another acronym. So we use voiced for the preterite. For the imperfect, we use UTOAD, like UTOAD, UTOAD. The U in UTOAD stands for used to, which is oftentimes how the imperfect is translated. When I was a kid, I used to blah, blah, blah. And that kind of goes along with this expression, cuando yo era niño or niña. When I was a little boy or when I was a little girl, that's referring to childhood. Always an imperfect trigger. Cuando yo era niño. Some other common imperfect triggers that often go along with the used to category here, we have siempre, always, nunca, never, todos los días, every day, cada año, every year, and cada verano, every summer. These are all things. So every summer we used to go to the lake and ride jet skis. We never used to go to the pool. Every day we would always go to pals after class. Okay, used to. The T in the imperfect stands for time, stating what time it was when something happened. You may remember in the present tense to say like it is 2 o'clock, we say son las dos. Well, if I want to say that it was 2 o'clock, we're going to use the imperfect and say eran las dos, with that imperfect irregular there. Ser, eran las dos. So used to, time, our first two letters of UTOAD. The O refers to these ongoing events. We were kind of already talking about this. When the Dumplon was walking down the stairs, she hit her head. Okay, she hit her head, that's preterite. That happened only once. But she was walking, that's the action that got interrupted. Okay, so the action that does the interrupting, hitting her head, that's preterite. But the action that gets interrupted, that's imperfect. Okay, we use as well for UTOAD, the A in UTOAD stands for age. When we're saying someone was a certain age, Alex tenía 20 años, he was 20 when blah, 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 the age. And the last one, the D, refers to descriptions, what people or things used to be like in the past. So she was really pretty, she was an athlete, she was really nice, all those would be in the imperfect. Okay, so give these a try. Tell me why we would use UTOAD in each of these situations. Number one, eran las cuatro cuando tú llegaste. We're saying that eran las cuatro, it was 4. Boom, well we know that's a time. That's imperfect. Ellos tenían 8 años cuando el 11 de septiembre ocurrió. So they were 8 when 9/11 occurred. Well, they were 8, we're talking about their age. Boom. Nosotros siempre tocábamos el piano. We always used to play the piano. Well, you have the word siempre here, which is a trigger word, and it's translated as used to. Number 4, tu gato era simpático y grande. Your cat was really nice and big. Or we should say gordo here, maybe, nice and fat. Either way, we're talking about a description of the cat, which is why we used the imperfect. And then number 5, ellos leían cuando el teléfono sonó. They were reading when the phone rang. They were reading, that was or wearing is an ongoing action. So we have the imperfect there. Okay, so hopefully you're feeling good about those. Now we mix them all together. Okay, so it gives you a series of sentences here. You have to decide if it's preterite or if it's imperfect, and tell me why from UTOAD or voiced. So for example, number 1, yo miraba a Sabrina cuando llamar mi padre. We're saying that I was watching Sabrina when my dad called. So my dad called, preterite or imperfect? Good, it should be the preterite. We should say, yo miraba a Sabrina cuando mi padre llamó. Llamó, when he called. So in this case, that was an interruption. His calling interrupted my watching of Sabrina. Okay, go ahead and pause your audio. Give the rest of these a try, please. Okay, now that you've had a second to try these, let's talk about them. Number 2 tells you that cuando yo era niño, when I was a little boy, you can pretty much stop there. Boom, it's childhood. Cuando yo era niño, yo siempre quería ser médico. You know, it has to be the imperfect because we're talking about childhood. If you didn't remember that, you probably saw the word siempre, which is a preterite trigger word under the used to category of UTOAD. So, boom, quería, imperfect. Cuando yo era niño, yo siempre quería ser médico. Okay. Number 3, Eric, tener 18 años. He was 18, talking about his age. Age is imperfect under you-told, so tenía. Number 4, primero él jugó los videojuegos y luego él hace la tarea. We're saying that first he played video games and then he did his homework. Okay, you could look at this as a series of events, sequence of events, or you could see the transition words, primero, luego. Either way, it's going to be the preterite, hizo. And notice there's not a C there. It's not ico, it's hizo, irregular. Okay, and then number 5, nosotros fuimos a Pal's y comer en Blackbird. So we went to Pal's and then we ate at Blackbird. That's obviously a sequence of events, and they're both translated in the past as one-time actions. We went to Pal's, we ate at Blackbird. Sequence of events, comimos. Okay, guys, that is everything that I have for you. I hope that this presentation has helped you feel better about differentiating between the preterite and the imperfect. And of course, if you have any questions about any of this stuff, always feel free to drop me an email. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Take care.